9:30.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Game junkie, Gerard Campbell.
Talking games as we do every week with Gerard Campbell from stuff.co.nz. He runs the Game Junkie blog there and also on Twitter as well, twitter.com/GameJunkieNZ. Good morning to you, Gerard.
Good morning to you, Wammo.
And today
Good morning.
Good morning. Today we're talking about games for beginners. So let's just say I don't play games at all, but I quite fancy perhaps picking up a wee device or a console or a PC or something along those lines and giving something a bash, but I don't want a big learning curve. I don't want heaps of buttons and whatnot. Yeah. What do you reckon? Do you get that question a fair bit?
You do, you often get a lot of calls from people and they say, we've just bought a Wii or we've bought a PlayStation or we've bought whatever, but what we want to play, I don't want to play hard-out shooters, like Gears of War, or I don't want to play things like Splinter Cell and those sorts of things. So, it's actually quite good because, some people just want games that they can pick up easily.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be a really complex control scheme. There's not going to be huge, things to manage, and that sort of thing. So, I think with gaming becoming more mainstream, that you are going to find a lot more people who haven't touched a game before, starting to sort of get a bit of a taste and have a look. And of course, a lot of people have probably played, and they probably don't consider themselves gamers, but they've probably played things like Solitaire and Minefield and chess and those sort of things on their PC. So
they're all games.
They're all games. They are all games, and often those really, I'm just looking at my pad from my little list, but often those little simple things like, you'll find on your PC, I know that XP had a really good version of a pinball machine game, which is really good, but they didn't bring that into Vista. But, you've got things like chess on your PC, often comes as standard, and you've got those simple things like the Solitaire card games. So, they're a good, easy introduction. But I guess in terms of, consoles and more sort of, sort of in-depth PC games, certainly the Wii's going to be a really big attraction for a lot of people.
Would the criteria, do you think, be something that you could pick up easily but also walk away from easily, you don't have to dedicate hours to? Yeah,
I think so. I think that a lot of these downloadable titles that we're getting now, on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network, they are the sort of thing that you can jump in, play a few levels, maybe for 20 minutes, half an hour, then go away and go and cook tea or bath the kids or whatever, So they're going to be those games that people aren't going to have to dedicate, 6 to 7, 8, 9, 10 hours to actually working their way through. Because I think, if you're new to gaming, that's going to be a big turn off for you having to think, I've got to sink, 15 hours into a game. So, classics that I think that are really people are going to like. There's those games from PopCap, there's things like Plants vs. Zombies, and there's Peggle, and there's Bejeweled 2, those sort of really simple gameplay games, although Plants vs. Zombies does get a bit complex, but, things like Bejeweled, where you've got to, you have a grid that has all these coloured jewels in it, and you've got to match them in groups of 3, and then all the other jewels drop down, and you point, and you have time limits. That's really good. Peggle's really interesting. This sounds like Zuma.
What's Zuma?
Zuma is, I think it's almost like it's a puzzly type game, and it's those games, puzzle games really seem to be well suited to especially PC platforms. I think that people can play. Of course, people on Facebook, there's Facebook games that people can play. There's things like Farmville and Mafia Wars and those sort of things. They're not hardcore, but, a lot of people play those sorts of things.
And very social, of course, very social games. But also, by the same token, quite addictive.
Yeah. When I first started using Facebook, I played Mafia Wars a wee bit, and that is one of those addictive ones that, you do want, and it's very simplistic, and you just want to start keeping going on and on. But, you've got things like, even The Sims would probably appeal to, newcomers to the games. You can sort of start out running your own sort of avatar and living their life, and it does all get a little bit creepy when, it starts to echo real life sometimes, but apart from that, but you've got also too, if you're a music fan, you've got consoles and stuff. There's always things like Guitar Hero and Rock Band, those sorts of things, because things like even the Rockstar Beatles, Rock Band Beatles, people who've been brought up on the Beatles music, they're going to really click with it, and it's going to be a bit of familiarity for them. And those music games, they have varying difficulty levels, right from easy right up to hard. I've had last year my parents came around and they're in their 60s and they sort of picked it up on easy level, so there is an ability for those games to be picked up easily by players. But I think there are a lot of games out there that newcomers to the gaming can play, that they don't have to be complex control games.
What about on mobile devices like iPhones or Androids or iPads or something along those lines?
I don't know much about Android, but I certainly know things like the iPhone and the iPads and iPod Touch. You've got really good games like Fruit Ninja, which I think was one we've talked about here, which is essentially, it's from an Australian developer. Essentially what it is that there's increasing number of fruit that pops up on the screen, and you've got to swipe it with your ninja sword, and every now and then a bomb will come up, so you've got to swipe fruit at the same time while you've got to avoid bombs. There's things like flight control, which is a really good one, that you've got to land planes and helicopters on runways, and of course you get more and more coming on screen, so you've got to sort of work out paths and maneuver around other things. There's another one called Harbour Master, which is a similar sort. I think you played them, which is a similar concept, but instead of having to guide boats into ports, you've also got to get them unloaded and get them out of the port before the next one comes in.
Have you tried Angry Birds?
I have tried Angry Birds. Angry Birds is very, very good. Angry Birds is very good.
That's
Angry
where.
Birds is great.
Yeah. Oh, describe what Angry Birds is. Yeah.
I was going to say Angry Birds is great because it's a very addictive title too. You've got your little varying types of birds, and you've got to try and knock off these pig-like creatures, that have got barricades all around them, and it's one of those addictive ones that you do tend to say, oh, well, I'll do one more level, and also on the same point, there's things like Monster Dash and Cannabolt for the iPhone and the iPad and iPod Touch, which are essentially, your side-scrolling character running and jumping, and in the case of Monster Dash, the character runs from left to right, and you've got to jump over obstacles, and you've got to shoot zombies and mummies. But they're very simplistic gameplay, and a lot of the iPod and the iPhone games, they are the type that you can pick them up for 10 minutes, have a play, shut them off, and go off and do your own thing. So they're very sort of get up for that sort of casual gameplay, and they look good too, a lot of them, and they're cute little cartoony graphics, and of course then you've got things like your Nintendo DS and your PlayStation Portable, which you can mobile game on. So there's a lot of options for those people that want to start it. And also too, I guess we've got the PlayStation Move, which we talked about last week.
Yes.
Which is bringing the motion control to the PlayStation 3 owners, and of course the Kinect, which will be for the Xbox 360 in November. So. And I think more so the Kinect is probably, if new gamers are going to be sort of a bit weary of too many buttons and too many controls, the Kinect with its you are the controller, no buttons to press sort of mentality, that that'll probably appeal to a lot of sort of newcomers to the sphere, I guess.
Well, I think there's plenty of tips and suggestions if you're just thinking about picking up a game that could be slightly addictive, but maybe you could just walk away from as well, and you don't need to invest too much time in. Thanks very much, Gerard. We'll see you tonight at EA Play. Looking forward to checking out the latest EA games.
Yes, it looks like there's some good titles from EA coming, so it'd be good to have a bit of a hands-on with those. We'll see you there.
And we'll talk about that next week as well. Gerard Campbell is on Twitter as well, twitter.com/GameJunkieNZ.